Once we have our views on our sheets, we need to learn how to handle revisions in our Revit project. In order to be able to set up our revisions, and so they'll automatically populate over here inside of our title blocks, we need to come up here on the ribbon underneath the Manage tab in order to be able to set up our revisions. Now, if we come over here to Additional Settings and select on that, then move down, go ahead and select on Sheet Issues and Revisions. This brings up the Sheet Issues Revisions dialog box. And the first thing I want to point out is over on the right-hand side where it says numbering, and it can be done in one of two different ways. It can either be the revisions can be done per project or it can be done per sheet. If it's set up to be done per project, then we're going to be able to see those revisions pretty much throughout the entire set of documents. If it's set up per sheet, then it's going to be revision 1, and it's only going to be affected on that one individual sheet. I find that most people probably do per sheet, but I have run into many different firms that are doing it per project. So whichever way is your office standard, select that, and that's just going to need to be the way that you do it from here on out. There's no mixing and matching in Revit between those two, so it's going to be one or the other unless you just decide to put text in your title block and not have Revit manage the revision process. So in this case, I'm going to select on per sheet. It's going to ask you, are you sure you want to do this? And in this case, I'll say, sure, yes. At this same area, it's going to be asking us for a sequence. And what it's really trying to say is right now we know you want to enable revisions because you're here in this dialog box. And right now we have one already set up for you. What number would you like this to be? Or do you want this to be alphabetic? So do you want us to start with number 1, or would you like us to start with the letter A? Usually it's going to be numeric, so we're just going to leave it that way. There's date. This is where you can put in today's date or whatever date you want to be able to put in this information. I'm just going to type in this date for right now. As far as description goes, this is your typical revision description. This is what it's going to say in the box in your title block. For this, I'm going to put revised stair section. And we'll start to talk about some of these other things such as issued and show, and it has cloud and tag in just a minute. So come back down here when this is done and click on OK. Right now, we haven't really seen any changes, and the reason is that we haven't really told this that there's going to be a revision anywhere on this sheet. What we did is we set the revision up project-wide, and then that could have been theoretically anywhere. So now we need to say that on this sheet, there's going to be this revision, and it's going to be related to that one that we just set up. So to be able to do that, we're going to come up here to the Annotate tab, and we're going to select on Revision Cloud. And revision clouds have an interesting property associated with them. They always do a big bubble, little bubble when you draw them. People are used to doing AutoCAD where you can start to customize some of those cloud symbologies. Oftentimes will ask me, how do you go about changing this so it doesn't look like big bubble, little bubble? And unfortunately, there's just no way to be able to go about changing that symbology other than just either making it really big or making it really small by just selecting on these individual locations as you window around and form your cloud. It's not really a big deal. You get used to it. And I think after a while, one of the things that I really like about these revision clouds is how they do, in fact, interface over here. As a matter of fact, the second I started drawing this cloud, if I zoom in here, we can see it started to add that revision to our title block, to this sheet. I'll go ahead and zoom back out again and click on the big green check mark to that. Zoom in again, there it is, and there's the revision officially put in place. Now, if I decided to have some sort of tag on here that indicated, yes, this is revision 1, Revit doesn't automatically tag it, but it's easy enough to do. Also underneath Annotate, it's going to allow us to do a tag by category. And if you do that and then move over to the revision cloud, it'll automatically place a tag on here with the number. And yes, this can be moved around, adjusted, placed wherever it is you need that tag to show up at. Now I'm going to zoom out just a little bit, and we're going to go back to that Manage tab up here, up on the ribbon. Once again, we're going to go to Additional Settings and Sheet Issues and Revisions. From here, if we wanted to be able to add more to this sequence, all we'd have to do is click the big button Add, and it would add more underneath here. One other thing to know is that if we ever get to a point where the sheet is going to be issued, well, we can just click right there where it says Issued, click on OK, And as soon as you do that, it's no longer going to allow you to add any more revisions to this particular set of revisions. So in other words, if you've already had this set of documents go out to the printer, it's been distributed, you're not going to add more to that same revision set because those revisions are already in everybody's hands. So to keep people from being able to add revision clouds at that point, you can put a little check mark in that box. And we'll go ahead and illustrate that here. If they try to come in here and place a revision cloud, it'll give you an error message saying you can't because the latest revision has now already been released. And if you ever do need to be able to make that modification, it's simple enough. All you have to do is come back up to Manage. Once again, go to your Settings, Sheet Issues and Revisions, and just clear that little checkbox out. And what it will allow you to do is it will allow you to go ahead and start to put in those revision clouds again so that you can put this set of documents back out. Revisions are handled on sheets, but they can also be handled on the individual views. So if you decide to put those revision clouds inside of a view instead of on the sheet themselves, Revit's just happy with that, and all you have to do is just then put the view onto the sheet, and then the title block will automatically pick that information up.